Hi, I'm Mike, and welcome back to Our Wyoming Life, where today it is, well, it's not a very nice day outside. Snow is blowing in, temperatures are dropping, and we're expecting about 3 or 4 days of some really frigid temperatures, along with quite a bit of snow, up to, well, not a lot, maybe like 6 inches. So for us, that's not a whole lot, but it is enough. Once the wind starts blowing, it's going to cause some drifting and some other problems that we're going to have to deal with over the weekend. We'll be back for Saturday's video as we take you out feeding in the morning, and we'll be able to see how this snow is stacking up over the next couple of days. But for today, I had a totally different plan. We had stuff that we were going to do outside. We were going to go move the cows around. We were going to weigh some steers. Now with the weather like this, it's not fun at all to work outside in this kind of weather. So what we're going to do is actually do some shop projects, and I've got a little bit of rearranging to do. But I also have something interesting that I wanted to share with you guys. Back before we started videos back up on January 16th, we took a little bit of a break. We took a couple weeks as a family, got a chance to hang out with each other, reconnect, and without having to have the whole, you need to pump out videos over our heads. We had a lot of other business stuff we had to take care of, but we didn't have to make videos, and thank you very much for giving us that break. During that time, I got to talking to a friend of mine, and I was kind of going through this whole, what am I going to come back with? What kind of video am I going to come back with? And he said to me, you know what, we don't care. We would be happy to see you drive to town, get some diesel in the pickup, pick up some chicken nuggets for the kids and bring them back. I kind of found that a little interesting, just, that people just want to see us live our lives and want to see what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I took it a little bit farther than just what he said, and I approached quite a few friends of mine, and I said, what is it about Our Wyoming Life that you think keeps people watching? And those people actually were nice enough to write down their thoughts and send them to me. So today, as we head out, because I said, it's crappy outside, the weather is not nice at all, but it is still a ranch. We still have to work outside. And as we head outside today, I've got a couple really quick projects that I want to work with you guys on, but also I wanted to talk about their responses and what my friends had to say about why people watch Our Wyoming Life. And then you can take that and go, hey, you know what? I agree with that. Or here's something new. And of course, you can throw it down into the comments. Snow is starting to pile up out here. As you can see, the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to head across the road, which is over there. And on the other side of the road is our feed lot. We call it finishing school. But also we've got a barn over there that we have it is cold out here. I'm going to step back inside, that we have our grain bin in. And that grain bin has kind of traveled around the world. It was actually here in this barn right after Matt and I finished building it. We ended up filling it in here. We had our auger that would fill it up. But at some point, last summer, I do believe, we decided to move it across the road into the barn over there to make it easier access for when we're feeding steers. You can just pull up with the gator or whatever else, fill up buckets and take it over. This morning, I was thinking about why we have it over there, and because we're able to fill it up now with our grinder mixer, it makes a little bit more sense to have it over there. But we still have some space over here where I can put it, and I can actually, in the mornings when I'm out doing chores, which you're going to come with me and do on Saturday, we can fill it up right from here and be able to take it wherever we need to. And maybe it might be a little bit more handy to do. So we're actually going to take the skid steer across the road, pick up the grain bin, bring it over here, get it placed, and hopefully it'll work just as well over here as it does over there. And it's a little bit more out of the weather and hopefully a little bit more strategic, easier to use. Anyway. Now, I think we took it across the road because originally we had been using that same auger, but when we got this thing, it kind of changed the game a little bit about where it could be. And eventually, I think I'm going to end up putting it outside and putting a decent roof on it. But this is the other half of our day over here with the grinder mixer, because it was bound to happen. And I was actually grinding up some hay that we mix in with our corn, oats, and barley that we use to finish our animals. And I was grinding up hay, which basically means that I was taking full-size hay, directly out of a bale, running it through the grinder and chopping it up to about this size. Now, once it gets to this size, we can mix it in with the COB. The problem is we got to get it out. So I was actually running it up through this auger and putting it into a bag. That way I can measure it and make sure that I'm getting all my my ratios correct. Problem is, when I was doing that, I plugged the auger. So that's the other half of our day. We're going to tear this thing apart here in just a little bit and hopefully get it cleaned out so that we can get it to work once again, so we can mix up some more of our finishing corn, oats, and barley along with the hay and get all this back up and running. That's my hope for today. Then I'll cut you loose. But first, let's get in the skid steer, go over and get that grain bin. That we don't get stuck. I don't think there's that much snow that we're going to have to worry about that yet. And once we get it moved over into the barn, into the sale barn, it'll make it a whole lot easier to fill. And I'll show you why once we get over here to where I've got it set up now. And there it is, the grain bin that we built about a year ago with Matt's help while he was here from Chicago vacationing with us. We are going to pick this up and get it out of here. And one of the reasons I want to do that, not only is it going to make it easier to feed, we don't have to come all the way over here to get our food, it'll kind of, well, you can tell, kind of blocks the door. And what I want to do is actually clean out a lot of this barn. A lot of this stuff I don't need, I'm not using. It can be moved somewhere else or just gotten rid of. And then I can use this for a lot more storage. When we mix feed, when we buy feed in bulk, we can store it over here, and there's lots of room. It's a concrete floor, and I think it'll really come in handy for that. The building itself has seen better days. In fact, you can see a big old chunk fell out over there, but we have supports that are holding the walls up, so everything is safe. But being able to utilize this building will make a huge difference for us. This auger that comes through the wall here, this is how we would fill up the bin. We would be able to dump it on the outside and it would drop down in the bin. Now that we have the mixer grinder, we don't need to do that. We can actually dump it out directly out of the mixer, just like we do into the pig feeder. I guess another reason why we're moving this thing is because when we come over with the mixer grinder and we use the auger output, you can see how much clearance we've got up there. We've got basically about a foot of clearance to be able to get it in this door and fill this thing up. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So over in the sale barn, we're gonna have a lot more room to be able to work with, hopefully making life easier there too. our grain bin over here now. It's actually empty, but it's still pretty dang heavy. Can't move it by hand. As much as I would like to slide it into that corner, probably not going to happen. Not today anyway. Not without some help. So we'll leave it where it's at. It'll make my life a whole lot easier. So I mentioned earlier that I asked some friends of mine why they watch Our Wyoming Life. And I actually got a few of their answers here. I think that was a cat. That's the other thing. If we do spill some grain in here, there's enough cats in here that if there's any mice, they'll get taken care of pretty quick. All right, so the first one that I want to share with you, this was from a friend of mine. His name is William. He lives down in Cheyenne. And I asked him, why do you think people watch Our Wyoming Life? He said, honestly, it's the ever unfolding story of your family and the ranch that drew me in. Call me biased, but as a native Wyomingite, I felt a sense of pride in seeing a true-based Wyoming social media platform take the call and give Wyoming more of an impression than just another flyover state. Plus, I'd say folks watch because you're living the American dream, as many wish they could. And for folks not only to watch, but even interact gives them pleasure that's not found much elsewhere. You're grounded in reality more than other channels, and viewers can relate to that. And while you are living the dream, it doesn't come without sacrifice, persistence, hard work, and maybe being able to relate to that because you guys aren't afraid to show it, which is really unique. When we started the channel, that was one of the first things I said, was that I wanted it to be real. I didn't want to hide the bad stuff. I didn't want to make everything look like it just goes according to plan. And yeah, we have bad days on the ranch all the time. You guys get to see them. We like to be able to share what we can and be able to show people what ranching is really all about. Thank you, William, for that. Wyoming's not just another flyover state, guys. There's lots of stuff happening here, even though I still get the Wyoming isn't real comments occasionally. Okay, so I've got this set up in here. This is pretty much good to go. This actually needs to go into there. But before we can do that, we need to go take a look at the mixer grinder, which I think I broke. This thing was manufactured in 1964, somewhere around there, so 63. It's old. It's 60 years old. Obviously, it's going to have problems. We knew that was going to happen when we bought it. We got it pretty cheap. But we've been able to use it all this time, and it actually has saved the ranch money. However, I clogged it, like I mentioned, so we're going to have to pull it apart, do a little fixing on it. The nice thing about it, obviously, since it was built back in the 60s, there's no computers, there's no microchips, there's nothing that I have to worry about other than just mechanical, which is really kind of nice, actually. So this big tub here, this is what actually holds all the grain, and we were feeding hay in through the other side here, and this is where it comes in. These are the hammers, and these are what actually grind down the hay or whatnot. It goes into here. There's an auger here that takes it back that way, and once it's in here, you got to get it out through the discharge. Once I was trying to get it out, that's when I ran into trouble, and that's where my discharge clogged up, and then everything just kind of goes backwards after that. So like, the discharge stops, so that stops your auger, which then probably there's a shear bolt that popped off that I'm gonna have to find. But the first thing we want to do is just get this cleaned out as much as possible. Nice thing is that there's little access panels all over the place that we can get in and hopefully get it cleaned out. Of course, none of these access panels have been removed since, 1960 something. So getting them off might be a bit of a pain. I also don't want to lose any hardware. So I'm actually, here, let's put this right there so that when we do get something taken off, it can go right up there. All right, so that's kind of interesting. We'll just keep on working our way up and taking stuff off. So this actually doesn't give us access inside the auger as much as it does to the parts that turn these corners. But it's not going to hurt to take these panels off so that we can see what we're working with. All right, now we can see inside this flute, and it's actually not clogged horribly. Well, there's some hay up in here, but not a whole lot. Actually, so it's not jammed here, which is kind of what I'm afraid of, because I think it might be jammed in there. Still have one more panel to take off here, might as well see what we got going on in here. I really like taking stuff like this apart, especially some of the older machinery, and actually seeing how it works and how, even like something engineering wise, is being able to take stuff from down there, move it up, take a 90-degree turn, make another 90-degree turn all the way up to there. It's pretty interesting. And I think, according to my friend Patty, who lives down in Arizona, that's another thing people like about the channel. Patty said people watch for 3 reasons: farming, animals, and family. Viewing how the cattle ranch side of the business works, the processes, and taking care of cattle, how many heads, cows, heifers, steers there are, plan, what your goals are, and why. I think a lot of it does come down to how things work, and it's one thing I like about it too. Of course, sometimes I'd like to know why things aren't working, and knowing why this thing isn't working would actually be helpful as well, but we're going to try to clean it out as much as possible, kind of get us started here. And then we might fire it up and see if we can get any sort of movement out of this back auger before we start tearing it even farther apart. I think I might have figured something out here. So I kind of have to get you underneath here to show you what I'm working with. But obviously I think I overfilled the bin here, which is here, when we were taking the stuff out. And I think if we get underneath here, so this is the shaft that runs that auger going up and down. And inside here, you can see there's this guy. This is the portion that when you turn on, I hope you guys can see that. When you turn on the auger itself, this is the guy that gets things spinning. And so this should not be freewheeling on that shaft like that. And there is a hole, which you probably can't see, but there's a hole right there by my thumb. So my guess is that there was a bolt, like a shear bolt, which is made to break if bad things happen. So I'm guessing there was some sort of bolt through there. We're going to try to find one and see if we can get that bolt back in. And then hopefully we can clear that out, get us back up and running. Might have found one. Now underneath here is where we're trying to work. I know you guys can't see it very good, but what I'm gonna do is try to find where that bolt hole is. Okay, so we got a new pin put through there, which now means that I should be able to turn this on, and hopefully, if I've got it cleaned out enough, which it doesn't really seem like it's that clogged, hopefully it'll engage, push this stuff out. But we're going to do it at really low RPM so that if it does break, we're not going to screw anything up. I'm not sure what really happened because I couldn't see, but it looks like it's moving it. Let me turn it on again. But that's good. It looks like it's back up and running. I got to tell you, that makes me look, well, feel pretty good. It doesn't make me look good because I ended up overpacking the auger, caused the shear bolt to do exactly what it's supposed to do. It broke off. I need to go get some actual shear bolts because right now I just have a regular bolt in there. I want to make sure that I'm as safe as possible. So shear bolts are made to break at a certain pressure so that you don't cause problems throughout the entire system. Taking off these covers, I think, helped us a lot because it gave somewhere for that hay to go. So overall, pretty impressed with us for today. This thing's back up and running. I've got one more comment that I want to read to you guys. This one comes from another William. This William actually lives on the East Coast, back in New Jersey. And he said, two things come to mind right away about Our Wyoming Life when I get a chance to watch. I find it extremely entertaining, but also educational. That's for the city folks that are stuck in a day-to-day job with commuting, rushing kids from one place to the next, and being stuck in a rut with people and buildings in the same backdrop every single day. So your slogan is the reason that they come, just to escape that day-to-day and see how others live. The educational part comes with your explanation as to what you're doing and why. Many people, me included, have only a small hint of what goes into raising our food and growing crops. It gives your viewers a better chance to learn from the family that's actually doing it. Your success is mostly due to your abilities to do all of these tasks very well. Thank you, Will. Really do appreciate that. You know, being able to explain something is one of the reasons that we actually decided to do the YouTube thing and make Our Wyoming Life, make it what it is, because I did see other videos or other channels, not even agriculture, but any type of channel that would show you what they do. That's great. Show me what you do, but explain to me not only how you do it, but why. Because that why is what makes our entire lives so important. Not just mine, but yours as well. Your why is just as important as mine. So don't ever feel like you're anything less than anybody else, because your why is the most important thing to you, and that's all that matters. So thanks, guys, for hanging out with me once again. I'm glad we're able to get this figured out because this actually leads me into some more videos that we're going to have coming up down the line. I want to be able to help other producers, so we're going to talk more about how we mix what we finish for our steers. That's coming up in a future video where we actually, kind of like we did with that chicken feed video where I showed you how to mix the chicken feed. I'm going to show you guys exactly how we mix what we finish our cows on. And that's important because that lends to that quality of meat. And if you've ever ordered meat from our website and you like the taste of our beef, that comes from finishing. That's where that flavor comes from. And that's why when you buy beef from this guy, it may taste different than beef from this guy. And that all comes to what that cow eats in the final stages of its life. So that's really important. And I'm glad that we were able to get this thing fixed back up and be able to show you. I've got to put it back together, and we've got more videos on the way. Saturday's video, you're going to come out with me as we feed, hopefully in a storm. I was going to film it tomorrow. Actually, I was thinking about filming it today, but it's just not stormy enough. I want more storm, and I want you guys to see exactly what goes in to feeding during the storms. You know why we feed, because the animals have to eat, but it's kind of entertaining to go out and try to battle some of the elements here in Northeast Wyoming. So thank you for hanging out with me once again. Be sure to subscribe, follow along as we explore the ranch life and escape the ordinary. And if you are going to be anywhere near New Orleans next week, be sure to stop in the NCBA conference. That's the National Cattlemen's Beef Association conference taking place in New Orleans next week. We'll be there. Both my wife, Erin, and I will be there with FBN. We've got some really cool giveaways going on while we're there. We're going to tell you more about those coming up as well. So thank you for hanging out with me, and we'll see you next time right here on Our Wyoming Life. Boy, I'm glad I was able to fix that, because that would have looked really bad if I wouldn't have been able to. Good machine.